That's right. All right.
Hello, David
Hello,
Mintz, the magical David Mintz. How are you?
I'm magical, thank you. How are you?
Good. Me? I'm lovely, wobbly, great. Couldn't be happier. Obviously, now that smiling, no, it's all looking good. John,
nice to be here. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Yeah, you're cool. Always welcome. Thank you for this campus chat. This, for people that don't know, Josh, the few that don't know, Josh Rayner runs Rayner Personnel, the fantastic recruitment organisation, and I'm guessing it's quite a busy time for you, isn't it, Josh?
Yeah, it's been mental, especially this last week with the green light from the government. We've seen lots of jobs return to the market. We've actually made over 6 placements so far this week, which has been great. We only got the green light last Friday, so I think lots of agents have gone full out and put up their screens and tape around the offices, which is brilliant to see. I think the majority of the agents are looking to return back to work on the 1st of June. So yeah, it's been a bit crazy the last couple of days.
Are you able to gauge at all? Obviously, a lot of agents furloughed a lot of staff. I think it's fair to say that not all of those furloughed staff will be running, though. Are you able to gauge in terms of percentages what people have returned back to work with at the moment? You know, are they back there with like 70% staff, 80% staff? And also, what percentage of staff on average do you think they're letting go? Have you got those sort of figures, or can make a guesstimate?
So speaking to clients of all different sizes, from corporates down to one office independents, a lot of people are bringing back managers and listers initially, and then looking to bring back more and more people week after week. But it seems to be sort of 2 people at the moment per branch, but they're reviewing that constantly to enable a full workforce to come back. In regards to percentages, I think it's unclear on who's going to come back and when, but I think the market will be the deciding factor to that question.
Okay, interesting. Okay, well, shall we hand it across to you then?
Yes, please.
You've got some information you'd like to share with us, haven't you?
Yeah, I'd like to bore people for the next 25 minutes, so apologies, everyone. So I just want to kick off with what the industry is going to look like. So in my opinion, the industry's all about people. Of course, I'm going to say that I'm a recruiter, but whether you're an estate agent or a recruiter, we obviously specialise in people, and our commodity is people. So during lockdown, I ran 2 property pulse polls, and that's a bit of a mouthful, to really get understanding of how people are feeling. What's the mood of the industry? Never in 100 years have we ever been put into a deep freeze or a play where we're at the moment, which is a big pause button, so to speak. So it's really important for me, with my commodity being people, to understand how people are feeling. So I just want to share the results. Most of you have probably seen the results over the trade press on Monday. But what was fascinating for me was that 67% of business owners see or perceive no change, yet less than 30% of employees take the same view. So there's a massive disconnect there, and that is something that's really going to affect our industry. I don't know what you think on that, guys. You're obviously both connected to the industry. I mean, what are your thoughts on that?
In terms of what appears in the press and what we see in reality?
Yeah, I guess what people are business owners are quite happy, and they think nothing's going to change, and most of their workforce won't change. So how's that going to affect the industry?
It's a tough one. I think a lot of people are going to sort of get used to doing things quite differently in terms of where they work from. But I think for most agents that I'm speaking to that have gone back to work already, one of the things that they're experiencing is that as much as it's nice to work from home in your pajamas, once you get back into that office, you somehow feel like you're finally fighting without one arm tied behind your back, kind of thing. You've got all the resources at your fingertips. So I think at least for majority of high street agents I speak to, I think they're still going to be looking at staffing those offices, and they're going to need the staff to do that, aren't they?
Yeah, clearly. But I think, in my opinion as well, initially I thought that disconnect was around communication. So I spoke to lots of different candidates, and they're saying, well, I've never heard from my employer the whole time during COVID-19, or they hadn't been talking about my salary, or they don't know what they're being paid until they get their pay slip. So I thought that was the initial issue.
I sent my staff WhatsApp messages, you know, mostly videos and memes. So, you know, they know that I was okay.
I've been on naked one though, Minty.
That one.
Well, it definitely won't be returning. I think there's a real issue around it's not just the communication. I thought initially it was. I think there's a real heady cocktail around communication, but aspiration as well. And people have actually had 8-9 weeks to really evaluate what's important to them. So again, even in my own life, when I'm leaving the house at 5:30 in the morning, not getting back till 7:30, 8 o'clock, do I need to do that Monday to Friday every single week? So I think, again, having that step back, you kind of realise what's really important to you. So I think that's really, from my point of view, why people are considering change.
And that's being reiterated by all the candidates that are coming to you as well, is it? I mean, we were talking to Charlotte earlier from, you know, the Able Agent, and we were talking about how you know, everyone's going to want to have more flexibility, but also millennials are well known for this kind of, you know, being like almost high maintenance. They want to have, you know, they want to have more flexible, you know, working hours. They want to, you know, they want training and development, which is what they're talking about there. But really, that's just playing into, that's just reinforcing what's going to be happening following on from this COVID stuff, isn't it?
Yeah, I think there needs to be some change. I mean, our industry is typically worked Monday to Friday, every other weekend or every weekend, and I think that needs to change. There's lots of companies prior to COVID-19 that are embracing flexible working, but I think after COVID-19, that's going to change completely. We're going to have more of a home workforce. I think that's kind of important to people more and more than it ever has been. So yeah, I think that would definitely change, and companies need to look at that. And that kind of brings me into my next point, which is company culture. So the best candidates, in my experience, that I speak to, don't just move for the dollars, they actually move for company culture. And during this time, it'd be great if clients can showcase their company culture, because the first thing they do is ask a friend, what's Joe Bloggs down the road like to work for? But also, when the lights are off and one evening they're doing their research online, they want to see what kind of your company culture is like. So again, looking at your Glassdoor reviews, more and more people are saying, Josh, I'm not going to touch them companies. They've got really bad reviews online, not interested. But again, how do you celebrate? What is your company culture, I guess? Because it has to come from your leadership team or the business owner. And how do you showcase that? Because that is going to be a big factor in attracting good people to your business. And I think COVID-19 is going to be about collaboration, but you're going to have the best players on the pitch and scoring goals really quickly to get that pipeline back up again. Start making some revenue.
Just on that point, Josh, as a total aside, you mentioned Glassdoor there, the essentially the review site on employment. Is Glassdoor a positive for a recruiter, or a negative for a recruiter, or is it broadly neutral? Is it a pain in the neck for you?
It's not a pain in the neck. I think transparency is good, and I always say to people, look, do your research on the company you're going to interview with. That's going to the office before you turn up for interview. How long does it take in traffic to get there? Find out where the local car park is, all that kind of stuff. And part of that research is, look, find out as much about that company, because guess what? The first question the employer is going to ask you, or the potential employer is going to ask you, is, what do you know about us? Look, I embrace Glassdoor, but I think agents, like they have before with their own reviews, have sort of said, we'll pick that up eventually. But it's really important. If we're a people's business, we need to make sure that our reviews on there are strong and they're showcasing the good bits about what we're about.
And your point about culture is absolutely spot on as well. You know, so many people, you know, you'll see on the walls of their offices, we value our clients, we value our staff first and foremost. And then, as you said, the minute that the lockdown happened, they furloughed their staff, and then, if they were lucky, and didn't hear from them again, did they? So culture is about how you act, not what about what you say, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. And I think that as part of that, there's going to be lots of things that agents need to do, but the model's going to change. I don't know what you guys obviously speak to lots of different agents on a regular basis too. Let's talk about the different models. So you've got the corporates, and there was some great press this morning in Property Industry Eye about Connells. And to be fair, they've done a really good job of helping their people and keeping them happy. And they're going to be on the high street forever. They've got their business. It's a big ocean liner. And it's doing very well. You can only look at their results to know that. And they're going to be on the high street. You've got the traditional high streets where there's always going to be a place for them on the high street, but they're also looking at different models. So we obviously know our good friend Sean Newman. You've got Keller Williams. You've got EXP. You've got lots of different models coming to market. They're often this hub and spoke model. And again, I think the rise of that self-employment is going to change. I'm not saying it's right for everyone, but there's definitely going to be more and more popular, especially after the.
When you present that back to, let's say, a traditional agent, candidate, again, in terms of percentage terms, what percentage of those find it attractive, and how, I suppose, how many more of them do you need to explain a little bit more about?
So prior to COVID-19, probably 25% of our candidates were interested in self-employed, because the one thing about salespeople, including myself, is we love spending money. We love making it, but we like to spend it even quicker. So they haven't got that war chest to be able to set up a new business. So it only appeals to them central ones, and clearly I'm not one of them, that's got enough reserves in the bank to be able to make it work. I think after COVID-19, we'll probably follow similar suit to FS, whereby everyone was employed initially, and slowly 50% of the workforce is now self-employed. So I see that growing. I don't think that the education has been done by Purple Bricks and other big organisations about the self-employment and how it works. So that kind of cost has now been spent. It's now about what do they want to do. And I spoke to a candidate yesterday, and they said, well, if you was any good, if you're bad at your job, you get fired. So if you went self-employed, you just won't make any money. What's the difference? If your employer hasn't really looked after you, what's the difference of being employed or self-employed? So I think that's a real big debate, probably for another time, about what people do in the future. But I definitely think there'll be some companies that won't do anything at all, stay into business, it won't change at all. Guess what? It's going to be back to business on the 1st of June, and nothing's going to change. I think there'll be lots of independents that adapt into a hub and spoke operation. There'll be lots that still keep people employed, and maybe they change the basic salary and commission deal around. Maybe that's a higher basic salary and a lower commission, or it's a lower basic and a higher commission. I think people will be looking at that.
So, Josh, I mean, you're obviously dealing with quite a range of different clientele, both on the sort of a candidate side of things and also the people that are recruiting directly. And as we know from being agents, everything that we do, we work at risk really until we find we achieve a result for our client. I'm presuming that is pretty much the same for recruiters as well, knowing that this industry is not short of a few sharks here and there. How do you ensure that you get paid properly?
Good question. So we charge similar to agents really. It's a no win, no fee, typically contingency based recruitment solution. We take the job spec after find a person, and then we fill the person. I should just throw me time with your comment, sorry. We then fill the job. And yes, look, we do have a percentage of people that do not pay, and we have to take legal action, unfortunately.
So legal action is the best course of getting there. I know, because obviously there's that propensity for people to sort of cut you out of the loop, is there not?
Yeah, definitely. We get the odd agent trying it on, which is quite amusing, especially when the internet's here, so we can do loads of different things to do our due diligence. But I've made this my new motto, which is, I don't know if you've read the book, The Legends, which is by the All Blacks. And it's the big saying that I've taken from that during lockdown is, I'm not dealing with any more dickheads. So from now on, I want to deal with clients that are going to pay their fees.
You're on the Kerfuffle webinar, so
he's on the wrong show. He's on the wrong show.
So yeah, you've got to deal with the right people.
Okay, so it's a lot about trust as well. And so how in depth do you tend to get with the candidates? Do you spend a lot of time talking to them and finding out their background, what they want, where they want to go?
Yeah, definitely. That's one of the biggest points for us. So it's okay going through their CV, which any Tom, Dick and Harry can do, but it's actually finding out what drives them, what motivates them, And like I said, it's not necessarily about the dollars they're looking for. It's about career progression, and it's about the people they actually want to work with. So that's a massive point. We also go into psychometric profiling of the person. So we psychometric profile the job and the actual MD of that company, and we actually then match up candidates to that particular job. And we found out that 96% of the people that we do that for actually stay for a minimum of 12 months. Whereas as salespeople, you know, as well as I do, you can start them and it's down to them really to crack on, and it's probably a 50-50 chance. So we do lots of different things with different clients, depending on what their needs are.
Interesting. So how long have you been doing this for?
Sadly, since I was 17, I'm now 33, so 13, 14 years. Did it a long time, and again, worked up from running a desk. I still place myself, so I'm still very much hands-on. We've obviously got a franchise network and license network that run alongside each other as well, that are local people that live in the local area, that know the agents and know the people, if that makes sense. So that's always slightly different. I think we've got about 450 years combined of expertise in the property sector. So it's a little bit different from most of our competitors, which gives that competitive edge.
And one of the questions that everyone's going to be asking, obviously, there's a lot of people that are changing, or thinking of changing their mind. They've had a lot of time to do some thinking. So they may be wanting to change routes to a particular career, or they may be wanting to change that particular career path themselves. Has the market become better in terms of wages likely to be paid in our sector, or are you seeing that new recruiters are sort of aiming low?
Is the question, are clients increasing their salaries post-lockdown? No, is the answer at the moment. So as an industry, we've always paid crap basic salaries, and guess what? In return, we've got crap agents. So something that needs to change is increasing our salaries. I think if you placed a junior neg on 15 grand a year, 16 grand a year, they're probably going more in Tesco's, and that gives you an idea of the people we're getting. We always blame it's somebody else's fault. Well, if you pay the right person the right money, guess what? You'll get a quality person. So I think we need to change the way we do that, and I don't think that's going to happen overnight. I think actually the only way that agents are going to do that is through compliance. So when the market is regulated finally, in probably 2020 Neverland, then actually the bar will rise in regards to basics, and we can actually get and attract better people to the industry, because we're going to lose a lot of people out of our industry after COVID-19. So we need to replace them, but we can only replace them if we can attract the right people.
Okay.
Can I just ask, in terms of, you mentioned there's psychometric tests and things like that, how have the best recruitment agents changed over the years? What are you doing now that's different to what you might have been doing just a few years ago?
Yeah, I think if you go back to the early noughties, when I first set up really and on a desk, it was yellow pages and a phone, 1980s boiler room, off we go, and there you go really. I think now we dive into a lot more of understanding of the candidate. So like I said, really go understanding what their motivations are for moving. There's so much more available on the market. So you can use the internet to find out market share. I can understand in any town in the country what agents got the market share. I can then go after them individuals. Most agents have got Meet the Team pages. We've got LinkedIn. We've got loads of different tools to our disposal to really find the right people. And again, video is key for us. So we video every single candidate before COVID-19, but even more so now, before we even send them out.
You do that with their permission, yeah?
With their permission, we do that. And actually, look, if I headhunt somebody, they're less likely to do a video than if they do want to do it. Yeah, I do definitely ask them, Simon, first. That wouldn't be appropriate.
Okay. We're getting some questions coming in. Here's one from a chap called Christopher Watkin. Never heard of him. Do you think the overall quality of valuers and listers has reduced in the last 20 years, Josh?
Yeah, I think we're guilty as an industry of over promoting people. There's a good negotiator, and they're good at negotiating. They should stay being a good negotiator. But some people are going, the next level is a valuer, and we've over promoted, I think, as an industry, lots of negotiators to valuers when they're not ready yet. So, Chris, I think you're right. The quality, I think, has changed. A valuer is a different animal to a negotiator, and a different probably animal to a manager. And sometimes we give too many jobs to one person, and guess what? The service isn't great.
Yeah.
So I think that's something to do with career progression as well. In our industry, sometimes that can be particularly poor. That if you get in as a negotiator, seen as it's funny. It's probably the most important job that you can do for your client is achieving the best price possible. And yet, anybody that comes in on an entry level or trainee, that's where they start. We only let them then go out and win business later on. And I think that career progression means that you start as an egg, you then work up to a valuer or a lister, and then and that's the way that it goes. So it's odd that though, isn't it, that we entrust trainees with with what
So
is
typically you're giving somebody that's never bought or rented a property, that still live at home, mum and dad, access to your clients and to sell or to let their biggest asset. It's just bonkers. And I think as well, and I'm looking at my own experiences, that some agents are really good agents and not very good managers. I'm one of them people. I hate managing people. That's why we've got a franchise network and a leadership team. And I think you can easily go, right, this is the way my progression sits. You end up in a job that you just don't like, and you end up leaving.
So Chris has asked a couple of follow-up questions. He's asking whether a neg makes a good valuer, and does a great valuer mean they will be a great branch manager?
Chris, again, I think a good negotiator, his natural path is to go into a senior neg, a valuer, assistant manager, and manager, but we over promote. So some good negs make great valuers. There's no doubt about that. And with the right training and coaching, of course, they then go on to make great managers and leaders. But there's others that actually really enjoy doing valuing, for example, or just being a negotiator. And I think we really need to listen to what our people want. So I hope that answers that question. That was a bit fluffy.
Okay, well, this question needs probably a little bit more detail, but is it a bigger basic or a bigger commission?
So our good friend Russell Jervis asked that. So Russell, look, I think people want different things. If you look at the new hybrid or online model, hub and spoke, whatever you want to call it, it's no basic salary and up to 70 to 90% commission, and that works for some people. If you look at probably the average agent, they're probably anything from sort of late 20s to early 40s, and they've got big mortgages, they've got kids, they've got school fees, they've got cars, etc. And some people need that cushion. So I think it's horses for courses. It depends on the individual you're trying to attract. So if you want somebody like me who's mortgaged to the hill, clearly I need a basic salary. If you've got somebody who's got some savings behind them, they're really entrepreneurial, then I don't think that's the best way to manage them or to incentivize them, so to speak. You need to give them a higher commission and a lower basic. I think we just need to look at that on an individual basis.
Mr. Whale, have you got any questions for Mr. Rayner?
Yeah, I have. I mean, I think you touched on it a little bit, before, but I want to look specifically for those people that have been unfortunate to have been laid off during this crisis and are now thinking about a change of career. What advice would you give them when talking to recruitment of people like yourself? What's the questions they should be asking?
So it's really important to get a good understanding of what you're looking for next. We speak to loads of different candidates and they go, I don't know, I work anywhere. I work agency, I work prop tech, I work land new homes, I work in lettings. I think you really need to ask yourself, what do you want to do next? What gets you excited in the morning? What gets you out of the house? So first of all, have that in mind. We're speaking to lots of people whose CVs are just not up to scratch. So happy for you to ring me or any of our team for us to look at your CV and help you with that, because we can send you a template that will help you massively doing that. I think just getting job ready mentally as well. I know it's mental health week this week and I want to go into that a bit further, but I think you mentally need to be ready, because some people turn up for an interview and they might be there in person, but they're not there in mind. They're still not sure what they want to do. So I think mentally they need to be there as well.
That's really good advice. You mentioned there earlier as well, Josh, around the property pulse polls. Just to point out, we did invent property pulse at Repeat, so I shouldn't care anymore. But that copyright infringement has been noted, and cease and desist letters are flying in now. To be fair, I think we nicked it from Home Flow, so it doesn't really.
Well, it's all friends. It's all real friends.
It's all very incestuous. I did see a number of things in there. What would you highlight as the most interesting points from those polls, and why indeed did you I mean, you obviously saw enough in that first poll to come straight back with the second one as well?
Yes, we spaced the polls out because we knew obviously lockdown would lift at some point. We didn't know when, obviously, nobody did. But we wanted to really find out the sentiment of the industry just when we went into lockdown, and probably halfway through, we didn't know we were going to rush back to work actually that quickly. So that's why we run 2 polls first of all. I think the first poll for me, 60% of the people in the industry were considering their options or looking to leave, which was massive. So that's a big one for me. And again, the second poll, we obviously asked job title this time and geography and what kind of type of business they work for. And the staggering result for me was the independent one. Let me just get my notes because I've got it here now. Is that 61% of valuers, in independent firms versus 58% in corporates feel differently about their role or are considering their options. So actually, I thought it would be the other way around. I thought actually more corporates, corporate structure, corporate management, they might not like it, but actually it swung the other way, which is really surprising for me. So clearly from the likes of Connells and people like that have looked after their staff, it's really working. And they'll be the people that can pivot and run fast out of COVID-19 with a good, solid team of people.
One of the questions we've got here from Russell, he means top 3 questions you should ask an employer that you're considering joining. So what are the 3?
You can read that question very differently.
What?
Well, top 3 questions. Sorry, top 3. Okay.
Top 3.
So, top 3 questions that a candidate should be asking.
Yeah.
I would be saying, what's your vision? Where are you going? Where's your journey? What are you trying to achieve with your business? It might be 2020 now, but where do you want to be in 2025? What are you trying to achieve? So first of all, understanding where the business is going and how you can help that business, but where your eventual job will be in 5 years' time. I think that's a key one. I think, like I said earlier, culture is massive. So what's your culture? What's your company culture in this business? How do you, what's your belief set? What's your values? And how do you kind of get together some like-minded people to go and achieve the goal that you want to achieve, really? And I would say final one would be
please let it be, what's your favorite color? What's your favorite color?
Do you draw any crowns or pens? No. The final one would be how are we going to take on the onliners, the hybrids, the corporates, independents? What have we got in our armory to be different? I think that's the biggest thing. Whether we're on the high street, whether we're in a service office, whether we're purely online, how are we going to do things differently, and how are we going to please our customer base? Because there's lots of different business models out there. I was speaking to a chap yesterday. He's gone on his own. He's left. He's a big independent business, and he's now a bespoke agent. And all he cares about is marketing his business via social media, but more importantly, giving that customer a proper bespoke, hands-on experience. Doesn't want to be classed as an estate agent. Is going totally left field to please people. So I guess understanding why you're different and what you're going to do to the ever-changing market.
Very good.
Let's talk about mental health quickly, because it's mental health. I'm really passionate about mental health. So I've been doing these Rayner research videos. You may or may not have been seeing them. But mental health, I think, is key in our industry. We're all big alphas and big alpha personalities, and we've all got this added pressure that we've got to sell and do some deals and that kind of stuff. And I want to point out that in our industry, a 23-year-old girl took her own life during COVID-19 because of the pressures and other bits and pieces, right? And that's horrible to hear. And that really, it's horrible, choking really to even think about it now. And it got to me that people's mental health is really important. So if you're a business owner, if you're a senior manager, if you're a colleague, if you're a friend, pick up the phone to your people in your team, whether you're a junior neg, CEO, and ask them how they feel. But more importantly, listen, because listening is just so powerful. So if you're going to do something this week, that would be my biggest ask from you, is just to pick up the phone. People are always busy doing other bits and pieces, but just to listen to people and ask them that question. I know we don't like doing it as agents because we've all got these massive egos and fast cars we drive and all the rest of it, but just do it. I think it's really, really important, especially this week. It makes sense to do so.
How do you balance that, Josh, with what is, as you said, it's an alpha male? Clearly, you've got to get the numbers up on the board in so many areas of this. how do you balance, obviously, support for a team member, somebody you're a line manager to, when you're also trying to get the best out of them, and sometimes having to be a bit pushy to do that? Clearly, that's a very difficult balancing act, isn't it?
Yeah, most definitely. There's always that friendship versus employee or employer, and you've got to get it right. And it's quite hard sometimes to break that down. But by asking simple questions like "How are you?" it doesn't matter if they're the lowest producer that month or the top performer. That's just a human question to ask people. So, from my point of view, I think you need to show a bit more compassion, a bit more empathy with people as well, because we're not in 1980 anymore. It's not bang, 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 boiler room stuff. Actually, people have got more issues than they ever had with social media and other bits and pieces. And it's really important that we engage with our workforce more and more, I think. And it doesn't matter if you're in an ivory tower or you're on your private island or wherever you may be, pick up the phone and speak to your people, because actually they want to hear from you, and they want you to listen.
I could see that glint in your eye there as you spoke about the 1980s. Boom, boom, boom. You were just thinking back to that. Actually, I was thinking as well. When you were mentioning the yellow pages, it did make me think like you do look like one of the winning candidates of The Apprentice, Josh.
I have got a lockdown haircut, so I do apologise. Mrs. Rayner's been given a bit of a hack in the garden.
Yeah, no,
it's not as bad as that one. That is a bit savage, Simon.
It is a bit too much, isn't it? Yeah, it's a bit too much. Do you see, broadly speaking, do you see the job market for agency up until the end of the year? What do you see it in this difficult period? Is clearly there's probably going to be a lot of changeover. How do you see it developing over the coming months? And clearly this is open because we don't know what's happening with the virus.
Great question. Look, we picked up over 40 live jobs this week alone. So people are taking people on, and they've gone from lettings managers to branch sales managers to area directors, prop tech jobs, FS jobs, land new homes jobs. So it's been a broad church of different roles. I don't think really the market officially opens till the 1st of June. That's when people are really gearing back to go back to work. And I think it'll be a slowly approach. So the biggest question at the moment, I put a guide around this, and Simon, I'll send you the guide so you can share it with the people in the blog on this video about actually how you bring people back and when, the do's and don'ts and that kind of thing. But I think that's going to be the biggest issue. When do you unfurlough people? Who do you bring back? And when, really? So in my mind, I think you're going to have a slow welcome back everyone until June, July, August time. And then I think we're going to really know what's going to happen sort of September onwards. But look, it's a market of opportunity. There's never been so much opportunity to actually, you've thought about your life, 8 weeks stuck in your house with your wife and kids. What are you going to do next?
We got a few. We'll have to read out the fan mail now, because unfortunately we've been trying to ignore it, but getting a few things. My old compadre
Hardy
furloughed or laid off and are now at the team people loop. I think that's you'll know we were talking to
I just got it. If no one's there.
Minty's having a party with somebody.
Well, I don't know what he's doing, but Preston Baker, and he was talking about talking to the staff as well as the staff that are still there to keep them all in the loop as well. So,
absolutely, it's a really good point. It's a really good point, because people have brought people back, and they're on full pay, and you've got people at home earning 80%. And I put a column out in Pi a little while ago. There's going to be a disconnect actually at the printer as well when everyone's allowed to come back, because the people that have gone back are getting 20% more for doing all the work and having all the headache. There's going to be a bit of an issue, I think, internally with staff, with morale, and you as a person who will come back. Is that because you're better? So working out that is going to be quite difficult for business bosses. But I think it's definitely important to speak to people on furlough. I would speak to people daily or every other day, whether you're employed or you're not employed. I think it's really important that empathy, but also that communication piece. That's going to really set different companies alight. And look at any recession. There's lots of multimillionaires that are made in recessions, and then people that are doing the right things by their people are going to just accelerate a lot quicker out of this. Yes.
Yeah, and one of the questions I was going to ask is how would you advise both employees and people looking for the jobs, the candidates themselves, to deal with that corona safety element there? I've heard from talking to somebody this week, one of the very top end corporates has advised that their staff are probably not going to be coming back into the offices till January. Now, I think that's one extreme, but how pushy, I suppose, can candidates be about when talking to businesses about, you know, that difficult question?
But from my point of view, it's health before wealth. It always has been, and that's the way it needs to be. Look, I think people take the virus a lot seriously than other people, and that needs to be listened to. That's not because that person's lazy and they want another holiday for another 8, 9, 10 weeks. It's because they generally feel that there's a safety breach. And if that's the case, no, they shouldn't return back to work. And it's down to employers to make their staff feel happy and feel at ease that they've taken the precautions in place. So I think employers need to listen to that. And look, Mary sits very close to me. I'm not very happy about that. Or the clients can come in, there's no screens up. They need to bring that to the employer's attention, and then they can do something about it. But if you just say, no, I'm not coming back to work because you haven't put a bit of tape down the floor, I think, again, there's some questions around that. So it's got to be sincere, it's got to be thought out, but definitely health before wealth, for sure.
That's good to hear. And what about one of the common critiques of some recruitment people? I know this. I see Emmeline's just jumped up on there. Of course, you supplied me with the vast majority of my fantastic sales and marketing team when I was at Repeat. But in terms of one of the big criticisms is that, you know, recruiters will quite happily recruit people into their businesses, but then they will actually go back and try and recruit them out again there. It's something that very much frustrates it. I mean, what's your particular view on that? I mean, clearly it's an easy one to target against competitors, isn't it?
Yeah, so there is a lot, like agency, there's a lot of white boy sharks in the industry that have got no ethics and no principles, and guess what? They don't go very far and they end up leaving. I suppose with recruitment, it's different to agency. The barrier to entry is a lot lower. So you haven't got to have a high street presence, for example, or a heavy Rightmove subscription. And you do get orcs and strays that come into the industry. Look, it's all about integrity. It's all about people. And it's all about relationships. So then people get found out pretty quickly. I suppose the only grey area is if you place someone in a position, you normally have a 3 or 6 month rebate as a recruiter. If that person doesn't work out, you pay an element of the feedback. And if that candidate approaches me and says, Josh, I can't stand someone well, get me out of here. You've got an obligation to the candidate, but you've got an obligation to the client. But you've also got that confidentiality part. So it's a very fine line. And most cases, we just say, look, we can't help you at all. If it's something in particular that the client's done that's broken compliance, then we're more aligned to help that candidate, if that makes sense. But it's on a case-by-case basis. But effectively, a client is a client. They're the one paying our invoice, but also the candidate is equally as important, and that is our commodity. So again, we need to make sure we're the right side of their camp as well. So that's always that grey area, Simon, and we always get emails to confirm I've approached you and all that kind of stuff to build up a case. But it's that hard one. Do you just say no and let one of your competitors place them, or do you help that person if it's a client's fault? I don't know.
It is difficult. I can certainly see it's an unusual. I think it's the idea almost that some of these recruitment agencies actually have the date of the
Oh yeah, I'm sure that happens. They get a happy anniversary text after 1 month and they've got their invoice paid. I'm sure that happens for sure.
That's an interesting point again from Gary here. Given so many businesses are poor at harvesting their data, utilising those working from home may be a good option. I've spoken to many, many suppliers over the years, and they talk so admiringly about the fact that they took a chance on, this kind of some of the stay-at-home mums or people like that. How much more? I'm guessing that there was a really good percentage of business owners that simply wouldn't allow any home working, was there, before COVID? Do you think that's going to relax a lot now that people can see they can be productive? You can still monitor everything that they do with very simple tools these days. Those walls are breaking down now, aren't they?
Yeah, massively. And I think Zoom's been everyone's saviour, I think, over these 7 or 8, 9 weeks. Yeah, definitely. I think the working from home basis will change completely. We've done some stuff with Mumsnet and advertised jobs over there before. And actually, we've offered a temp service for long-term holiday or maternity leave or sick people. And it's never taken off. And that's because our industry don't trust anybody. And actually, it takes 3 or 6 months to sell someone's house. They want them to be around, and they typically said no. But you've got the likes of virtual PAs now. We've got people that can work from home, dial into CRMs. We've got VoIP phone systems. We need to move with the times as an industry. We're always a little bit behind everybody else, and I think we need to embrace change. But it's all about the right people, whether they're in Scarborough and you're in Egham in Surrey. It doesn't really matter as long as they can support your client and give them a first-class service. So definitely the rules need to relax a little bit, and it's actually about finding the right person that can offer the right service.
What's the main industry, Josh, that feeds into estate agency? I know there's actually a lot of crossover with recruitment and agents, aren't there? Many agents pump out and vice versa. Are there other similar sort of industries where they are similar kind of job roles?
Yeah, absolutely. Sales, hospitality, and retail. I'm going to say retail because of the whole countrywide kerfuffle that they had in the past before. But retail, hospitality. Anybody that's got good customer service background would be, I think, make good agents. And there's lots of different things, like you had Charlotte on earlier, from an able agent that can assist agents fly from day one. So it's all right getting them people in a green, so to speak. But you need to give them the right onboarding and career path to excel. Because if you don't train them, guess what? They're going to be out the door very, very quickly. It's the same thing about culture again. How do you onboard people properly? It's not just you start and you sit next to Tim today and he'll tell you how to do the job. You've got to put them through a proper 3 to 6 month plan to ensure they're up to speed and happy.
You spoke about before as well about how asking people, the companies, what their vision was, what they were trying to achieve. How pushy can candidates be with sort of demanding or asking what training and development they're going to get? Because again, that's a key area that most people these days want to see, don't they? For themselves.
Yeah, massively. Look, I think that's a really good question. And if people aren't asking their interviewer that, then they should have a question mark over the candidate, actually. So if someone's asking lots of questions like where do you want to be and what kind of onboarding structure support you're going to give me, if they're not asking them questions, don't take it to the next level. They're the kind of questions that you want to be asked, and you need to fix how you're going to actually support them. So yeah, definitely they should be asking them, and they should be as pushy and as probey, if that's even a word, as possible.
Proby is a verb. Lovely. That's really nice image. So obviously, as much due diligence as you can do and as much vetting as you can do, sometimes you're always going to make a mistake, and sometimes, if for whatever reason it doesn't work out. What do you advise your the agency owners, your clients in that respect? How long do they stick with that? Is it as soon as they get the gut feel? Because a lot of people will say, I knew I should have got rid of that person. It was in my gut feel. But what they probably don't remember it so much, if they're honest, is the ones that they had that gut feel about, and actually they did develop onwards, isn't it? So what advice do you give if somebody gets on the phone, after just a few weeks, said, it's not really working out? Do you get them straight out, or do you, or can you give them something more constructive?
Do you get them out, or out is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, exactly. Out.
So, good question. It depends on the individual. It depends on the client. Look, I think you just got to think about you. And if you're taking on a green person, for example, that's never had industry experience, you probably got to give them a bit of the benefit of the doubt. When you first started, how good was your boss to you? Did they kick you out after 5 minutes, or did they give you 3 to 6 months? So I think you need to look at, if it's an experienced person, I would go with gut. If they turn up to the office late, or they haven't got the right attitude, you can teach them the skill clearly, but their attitude's poor, then get them off your bus quickly. But if they're green, they're showing good signs, they're really enthusiastic, they want to learn, but they're just not quite there yet, give them the benefit of the doubt and invest your time. And guess what? They'll be with you for many years to come. But with the experienced staff, if they're not up to scratch of what you want in regards to performance or attitude, then get them out straight away.
Someone's just asking a question. What do you feel about apprentice schemes? You don't get involved in the apprentice end of the things, do you, or is that?
No, I've played around with apprentice schemes. There's other companies in the property sector that do that, and look, we've taken on people in the past for us as apprentices, and there's some merits to it, and there's some bad points to it. So previously, you had to lose that apprentice 1 day a week to a local college, or for them to keep studying. So typical agents, they don't want to lose their person they're paying for 1 day, which was a bit of a barrier to entry. They've now changed that, and some of that is basically where a tutor comes to the office, so it's a lot less of an issue. And I think you can homegrown some really good apprentices. I know Connells in particular have done that quite well. and they've got some really good people by going to local universities and stuff. Then people just need to be nurtured properly. So if you're a small independent, a boss, 3 or 4 people, I wouldn't advise it, because you can't give them the love that they need. If you're a bigger organisation with a proper training and development arm, it's a lot easier, a lot smoother transition to attract them people. Otherwise, you're taking on people, and unfortunately, they're just going to be on a wheel, and you're going to just lose them because you're not going to be able to give them the attention they need.
I am excited to get some. I hope that's to get. I'm excited to get some. Otherwise, that's a very different. I think we need a follow-on for that, Louise. Maybe she didn't know which one she was looking at. Yeah, it was just. I'm excited to get some apprentices, so this is great to hear. Thanks for clarifying, Louise. That was not what it meant to start off with. Gosh, the recruitment. You'll be well aware that the criticism that has come in for the traditional agency model. First of all, it doesn't matter about Purple Bricks and the success otherwise there. Clearly, they managed to raise in the public a dislike of the traditional agency model, and I hear that a lot about recruitment models. How have best recruitment agents responded to that? Do you look at different models in terms of having sort of almost subscription services for your talents, or is it always just still on the same old school percentage of the salary? How are you guys responding to that, to grow as well as the agents are?
Yeah, definitely. So we have always charged a contingency kind of recruitment service. We charge a percentage of the basic salary and car allowance as a combined amount on a typical ratchet system. But we work in more and more with clients in a retained solution. So if you want us to really go to market, and it really works at a C-suite level, which is where I'm at. So I get retained in all my assignments, one, because I know that they're using me exclusively, but actually you don't mind putting in the extra hours and the 9 o'clock calls and everything else, and the videos and psychometric profiling, because actually you're the right side of the money and you can really spend the time. So we offer different types of payment options to different people. So we've got the pay and play, which is what you said. We've got the retained solution, but also I think there's probably a service that we can offer our candidates. So you mentioned about getting job ready. Why aren't we offering our candidates a pack where we video interview them, we offer psychometric test them, we offer them a course on how to win an interview, so actually guide them through how they should do that. One, it'd be great for us because we've got a pre-trained person that actually knows how to come across well in an interview. You'll still be surprised, Simon, that people turn up with piercings all over their face and baseball caps and no ties and top buttons undone. So even that kind of stuff will increase our obviously success, but will help that individual. So I think we need to look at monetizing the candidate as well as the client. But yeah, the models have changed all the time. I just find it quite hard to get any money up front from any estate agency clients, and I don't think that's going to change in the current times.
I thought you were going to say for suppliers there or certain CRM. I thought you were being awfully unkind there. We always paid on time.
No, you haven't. Yeah.
Josh, do you know this? What is an expected level of average churn of headcount in an agency per year? Because it is, and am I right to say that it's higher than most industries?
Yes, I think we fall into the sales category really, and recruitment sits in that as well, right? So we've mapped the market, and we think there's 2.5 people per branch across the branch network per office, and on average it's a 40% attrition rate on them 2.5 people. So it's quite high. Some people are running at 50s and 60s, but on average it's around 40%, which means every year effectively they need to recruit again. Something needs to change there. And again, I guess that's why I don't like paying recruitment fees, because I have to pay quite a few of them. But if you change your culture and you do the things like I've just mentioned, then you'll have people stick around. And guess what? You won't have any more recruitment fees coming at you so often.
Yeah, I mean, it seems quite low, that two and a half people per office, essentially. Yeah,
that's what we've worked out across the country. We haven't put the Purple Bricks or anybody else on top of that, but we just worked that out on benchmarks.
That does chime with, it's not all Purple Bricks or Countrywide, is it? This is still very much an SME business, isn't it?
85% of the market, isn't it, is SME businesses. So that's typically our client base.
Yeah, Gary's on fire today. Some agents have been very good at implementing change, working their data and embracing third-party solutions, but there are many that are not. Do you feel that following COVID, there will be more companies looking at investing in the right people to deal with these challenges?
Yeah, definitely. I think prop tech's one of them words where it's quite confusing. I think really it's about getting good tech that people can actually use. It should help you rather than hinder you. So we can all have all these different bolt-ons and this wild tech that can help you, but actually it's the people using it. So they've got to be trained on it and actually got to solve a particular problem. So I think we will take more people on. Again, that's going to be a slowly approach. I think people are going to on a piece here around talent mapping. Again, someone will send this out so you can send it out to the people viewing. That allows you to understand what your current squad looks like. It doesn't actually involve culture because that comes separately. But it looks at who your core employees are, and where your potential growth is with them, and how you can map that out. So it might be you've got a team of 5, and do you need a team of 5? Do you need a team of 3? Yeah. Have you got a value? Have you got an egg? Whatever it may be, sales progressor, etc. So I'll send you that over. It's quite fascinating to actually allow agents to map out when they do come back, who they bring back, and what they're trying to achieve, because it's all going to be around performance, right?
Thank you. One of the many chats we've had over a pint or two.
This is a sober one for one, Simon.
This is well, it must be because I remembered the conversation, so that gives you an example there. You were talking about actually how obviously when I was at Repeat, you were talking about how people with super user levels skills of RPS, the CRM system there, could demand a higher wage and will actively sometimes sought out by people there. That was really interesting, and it led to us going down the accreditation path that, of course, Repeat do now. What other niche skills do come up that you might not expect and carry a commensurate, obviously, increase in package? Do people still come out there and say, look, CFP is obviously still a very well used package on the lettings and account side of things? Do they come out and say that, or Agent OS?
Yeah.
How does it work?
Repeat, I think, obviously been the largest supplier of CRM. They've obviously recently offered the free course, haven't they, out, Gary and the team there, which has been brilliant. And like you said, they do charge a premium for the candidate because that is the best known system. Alto is becoming more and more popular for the kind of hub and spoke self-employed agent. So again, Alto has good experience as well. And also Propco on lettings management, property management stuff. Propco seems to be the one that they want the people to have experience in. So there are 3 bits of kit that I would recommend people use. Clearly, obviously, most people use all 3 portals or 2 now. So that's just common practice, and obviously you can do that via your CRM. But yeah, Propco, Repeat, and Alto are the ones that I would say, if you've got that experience, you don't necessarily drive a demand, but you become a little bit more sexy than somebody that hasn't got it, if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, I do understand that. I've had a few, ex-clients of mine phone me up and said, do you know any super users? Because actually they might have lost the person who essentially is the expert in their office network, and it's really advantageous to kind of have that there. I suppose it just comes to the skill sets of a business, doesn't it, and say what you'd like to ideally have internally there. Yeah,
well, that's super user as well. Basically, is an internal IT person, isn't it? Really, that's the person that sets up every new user. Trains them initially, and when you get rid of somebody with that amount of knowledge, it does hurt your business. So you end up paying that probably person slightly more to stay, then the head's not in it. So yeah, you've got to make sure that you've got the right people and they're sticking around.
Emily did hit with that question before. Whilst Josh prepared me perfectly for my interview, there was actually nothing he could have done to prepare me for the Whaley's interview technique.
Sorry, Emily.
Emily should just be very conscious that I actually turned up to the meeting, which of course was you phoning me about an hour before and saying you're still turning up. So yeah, I respect that. Obviously the title of this, Josh, was in terms of recruiting rock stars, and you touched on many different elements. We're going into the final minutes now. Would you what are any other advice or tips just on a permanent basis? And I just wanted to see if you agreed with one of those that I had seen operated quite successfully, which is that point about if you know that you've got that level of churn in your business, almost always be looking to recruit permanently, because it's not going to be too long before you need it. And do you agree with that policy of having essentially application forms always available on your website to track that?
Absolutely. So the recruitment process starts before you need someone. So highly recommend, we say to our clients, interview one person every single week. That might seem dramatic if you're one office in the middle of nowhere, but guess what? When you do need the person, it might take you 3 months, 4 months if you're doing it yourself to find someone. So it's always important you've built a subs bench and you're constantly out there monitoring that person to make sure they're still doing the numbers you want, etc., etc. So yeah, always be recruiting is a motto that I always use. And clearly get your careers page right. And like I said, it needs to reflect your culture. So whether that's nights out, trips away, go-karting, whatever it may be, showcase what you're all about and the family culture typically you've got within your business. Have an application form there. One thing I would say, Simon, as well, is ask people to leave you a video of themselves. Yeah. So if someone can't present themselves on a video, how are they going to present themselves in somebody's property? And if they're not willing to do that, I question how serious they are.
It's harder to, I mean, it's, you know, there were a lot of people that are very good these days at doing the interviews, aren't they? But each time you ask them to, you know, especially go on camera, it's harder to keep up that pretense for longer, isn't it? And you will always, there's a good chance you will spot something in each of these stages. And of course, it's far easier to whittle down the shortlist as well, isn't it? Because it, you know, it's a phenomenal time, you know, commitment of time when you are looking for the right person there. And when you've seen somebody and then you realize, oh, I really need another, you know, colleague to see this person, you know, getting everyone back again. And quite often, if it's a good candidate, they've buggered off, haven't they, already?
Exactly. Absolutely. Every company needs a recruitment process. That's absolutely key. And like you said, it starts before you recruit some and it ends probably 3 to 6 months once they're employed. So there's different steps to first interview, second interview. Actually, we get lots of people fall out of the process because they can't get the contract together quick enough. So they want, Josh, I need someone to start tomorrow. We've got this really big urgency. We want somebody who's all about urgent, our culture, and getting deals done. Yet they're employed, and then 2 weeks later, they still haven't got a contract, or 2 months later, they haven't got a contract. So you've got to set them behavioural traits early doors. But I would just say a win in a minute, 60-second video. Doesn't have to be chewing the fat for too long. Just a little bit about your background for a minute would actually help the candidate, but more importantly, help the client. So as a candidate, it gives you, everyone's got a CV, it just gives you a point of difference. And from a client's point of view, it saves you time whistling out people that aren't going to be suitable.
Brilliant. What's the best bonus that you've seen offered in a job that is non-financially orientated? So you must see all sorts of inducements to come and work for, obviously, businesses, you know, the old Google-esque, you know, or access to, you know, dry cleaning and things. What's the weirdest or best inducements you've seen that are non-financial out there?
Probably your pink hat, mate, to be fair. I think that must be the most recognised bit of industry, industry stuff out there. I don't know, there's a lot as salespeople, we always are offering gym memberships and company car upgrades, all that kind of stuff. I guess, I don't know, random ones I can think of off the top of my head. I can't think of one off the top of my head. They're all got financial value.
That shows that, you see, I need to be out there employing, recruiting people with all sorts of weird and wonderful ways. Free steak bakes every day or something like that. That's the way forward. I'm going to clear up. Okay, Josh, look, have you got any closing statements here? Because I'm really appreciative you've given us an hour of your time here. I think everyone will find that really useful. Thank you, by the way, to everyone who's been watching as well. I will obviously be forwarding this on later. You got any closing statement there, Josh?
No, look, thank you so much for your time. Really appreciate you inviting me on. If anybody's got any questions, I can help anybody from a candidate or client's point of view, please pick up the phone and I'll share the information with you, Simon, for you to send out.
Really happy to do that and make sure everyone goes to have a look at Rayner personnel on the Kerfuffle website. So thank you, Josh. Catch up with you soon for that point, mate.
Cheers, Bailey.
Cheers. Thanks a lot. Bye, mate.
Bye.